Meeting come to order, please. The notice requirements of the Open Public Meetings Act for this meeting have been satisfied. A copy of the annual meeting notice was sent to the press and now be current, posted on the bulletin board in the municipal building, on the municipal website, and filed in the office of the municipal clerk. Would you please stand for the flag salute? Attention, salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, justice for liberty and justice for all. Tom, would you call the roll, please?
Mayor Becker.
Here.
Commissioner Blumberg.
Here.
Commissioner Tobey.
Here.
Rich, do you want to do the thing first, or do you want to do it as part of the Atlantic Avenue thing?
Whenever I have the floor, I'll be on a roll.
Okay. You got it. We're going to go right to the department head reports. Tony, you can lead off today, please.
I'm the only one here.
Wait a minute, I'm concerned for Tony's report. Everything's okay in the fire department.
All is well. I did want to report we are preparing for the late spring and early summer opening of the beach patrol and also the summer season with the fire department. I did want to announce that our usual fire department night at the library that we have every year, which is a demonstration and great night for the families and kids of Margate, this year will be a combined public safety night on June 24th, Wednesday, June 24th at the Margate Library with the Margate City Fire Department and the Margate City Police Department in cooperation for that event. So it should be a good one. The beaches that will be open on Memorial Day weekend, there'll be 5 beaches open, weather permitting. That would be Claremont Avenue, Huntington Avenue, Knight Avenue, Thurlow Avenue, and Washington Avenue, which is the headquarters street. And that's all I have today, Mayor.
Thank you, Chief.
You're welcome.
Lisa?
Good afternoon. Just a couple quick things. Just want to let you know I've been working on and have completed our municipal user-friendly budget. And what that is, it's an additional document to our municipal budget that was previously adopted that the state is now requiring municipalities to provide. And the intent of this document is to present various budget information in a more comprehensible and easier format for the average citizen to review. So I'm curious to see what John Sewell thinks about that. Once it's up on our website, you could tell me about it. A lot of it is just basically redundant information that you could provide it and look at in every other document that we're required to submit. So it has to be up to the state by May 10th. I will be sending it out tomorrow, and I will also be emailing the mayor and commissioners a copy of it, and it will also be posted on our website. Also, our bond anticipation notes are coming due July. I just want you to know that I'm on top of that, and I've been in contact with bond counsel, have not set a time to meet with them yet, but most likely they will be rolled over, so we'll be moving on that sometime in June. We still have plenty of time. A couple of highlights. Our beach badge revenue as of April 30th is up over $8,400 from this time last year. And also our water and sewer collections are up over $270,000 as of April 30th of last year, and that is due to us mailing out our bills a little earlier this year, which was my plan to help us with a little bit more cash flow, which is needed at that time of year. And the last thing I just want to mention briefly is that had our exit conference for the audit, Rich and I, on Tuesday. And happy to report right now, I haven't reviewed the final draft yet. They're going to send it to me once they have everything finalized. But based upon our discussion, there are no comments or findings in the report. And on June 4th at the work session, Kevin Frenier of the firm Holman and Frenier will be here to do a presentation formally to the commissioners. So that's all I have.
Thank you, Lisa. Mr. Deeney.
Thank you, Commissioners. I'm going to address first the item that's on the workshop agenda. Although I was not here at the last meeting, I understood there was a question raised relative to the Atlantic Avenue restriping project, and I put together a summary of important dates as it relates to that particular project. First of all, the capital budget was prepared during the months of January and February of 2015. The capital ordinance that included the funds for this potential project, along with all the other funds for capital expenditures this year, was introduced on March 19th. The capital ordinance itself that included these funds, over $4 million worth of capital improvements, was adopted on April 2nd. The ordinance publication was on April 8th, and as you know, and I don't know whether everybody else knows, that after a funding ordinance is passed, there has to be another publication in the newspaper and then a waiting period before funds can be actually used. So we were not able to use any of the funds that were approved until just this past week, April 29th, 2015. The amount that was appropriated potentially for this project is $175,000. The preliminary schedule for the project, which has been discussed with Chief Wolfson and forwarded in writing to him as of today, and a copy was sent to each of you by email. The proposals for engineering, feasibility, and design would be in June of this year. A contract for engineering services would likely be awarded in July. Traffic counts and engineering would be August and September. And then receipt of bids and award of contract probably in the fall. It makes no sense to do physical construction until spring because much of it is road painting, restriping, and we would want to have fresh restriping for late spring and summer. One of the questions was raised, I think, relative to the nature of the recommendation is to consider restriping Atlantic Avenue for its entire length in Margate, much like has been done in other communities, including Longport. It does require, though, a report from the traffic engineer and some preliminary design work before we would undertake that project, and obviously some discussion with the public so they could see the concept plans for that to happen. It's a pretty big undertaking considering there's 4 lanes, and it would likely get reduced under that scenario to 2 lanes, and you'd want to have traffic engineering reports to be able to indicate how people would move along and what miles per hour they would move along, and how pedestrian safety would or would not be improved. Likely it would be improved. I've been in other places where that transfer has taken place, and it takes some getting used to by the public. Initially, there's a lot of skepticism that it won't work, trying to have a capacity of 2 lanes instead of 4 lanes. But in most cases, with all cases that I know of, with adequate traffic engineering, they can predict very, very well how traffic will move and how pedestrian traffic will move. So that's the schedule as of today. Any questions?
No, I'm good. Questions, Linda? Maury?
Perfect. Thank you, Rich.
Okay, if I might just continue on a lot of miscellaneous items. I guess earlier this week, the municipal parking lot auction took place, which is an annual event here. There are 18 spaces available for the parking lot that for which the auction is undertaken. There were bids for all 18 spaces at $200 each, $3,600. I'll be speaking with the solicitor after this meeting, but while I don't have a record of this having been done in the past, I think that should be formalized by resolution at the next meeting, and there will be actual lease agreements with the people who bid on those spaces, and that way, although we have the money up front because they have to post the money in order to bid, it'll be done formally and on the public record. Ed is not here. Ed Wahlberg from Remington and Vernick, our city engineer, but I did ask him specifically to give me something in writing so that I could report to you on two particular projects. He has a full report like he usually does, which is in writing, and I'll make sure you all get a copy of it for all the projects. But of the two projects where there's quite a bit of interest from commissioners or the public, one is the municipal building playground, which is behind this building. As you know, the playground apparatus, there's two different parts of the playground apparatus, but the major apparatus is not usable right now for safety reasons. I had asked for a report to be made, and it was given to me verbally yesterday, and I have a summary of it here. Largely what it says is the playground equipment itself is not in really bad shape, and the playground equipment itself is not unsafe. It needs a little bit of spot touching up, but it is safe. It's the ground underneath and the material underneath that is unsafe. So that kind of material that they use now is quite expensive, but it's on a state contract. We had a meeting yesterday, an engineering meeting, and we're able to use funds that we appropriated in that capital ordinance that I spoke of earlier, which is now available. And we should be able to buy this equipment from state contract, this material that's placed underneath. There has to be some excavation and stone put in, which we can do largely in-house. And we should be able to get this project back on track and completed before early summer. So that's one question that all three commissioners have asked me about in the last 2 weeks. The second is one in which there's been a lot of discussion, and we certainly knew it earlier. There was an article in the paper about the South Jersey gas main installations. I wanted to give you the latest report from Ed. Our city engineer is responsible for coordinating that project through the gas company, although the gas company has rights as a public utility into our streets. There are two contractors for the gas company. One is called Lantier, L-A-N-T-I-E-R, and they're doing the gas main construction east of Jerome Avenue and north of Amherst Avenue. They have approximately 18 men working on their crew. They're completing our gas main installation on Lagoon Drive today. They're proceeding to Marshall Avenue and Exeter Court. Once Marshall Avenue and Exeter Court are complete, all gas main installations will be complete by that company for this phase, which is the phase to be done before summer. Now, the mains themselves will be complete. There are a lot of houses all the houses have to be hooked up into the main. Many of them have already been done, but there are some significant number, a minority number, but a significant number that are still to be hooked up from the house to the main itself. And a lot of that problem comes from people who don't live here permanently, who have not made themselves available for good reason until some future date, hopefully soon, so that because the gas company needs to get into the house in order to be able to hook up those mains. Now, the purpose of this project, which is up and down the coast and funded largely with Sandy money, is to change over all the gas mains that have never been changed over to high-pressure lines, which which I'm not an engineer, but from my understanding are beneficial for two reasons. They're much more reliable, you can get more gas, and when it's very cold, people with low pressure lines sometimes at the end of the line have a problem getting enough fuel to be able to heat their house properly. Secondly, they're much more subject to flooding than low pressure lines. So that's obviously the reason why the Sandy money has gone to that project. There were 130 blocks being changed over. Our ordinances will require them to completely repair all patches and/or resurface, depending on how long ago it was that we had previously resurfaced. So on some streets, they'll be resurfacing from street to street. As that section by Lantier is scheduled to be completed on May 22nd. The second section, which is Kiley, and Kiley is installing gas mains west of Jerome Avenue and north of Monmouth Avenue, and they have supposedly completed all of the work in this phase of the main lines, but again, there are individual homes that have not been connected. The hope is by May 22nd, all homes will be connected as well. We met yesterday, and we asked Ed Wahlberg, our city engineer, to meet between now and the first week in June, and we want a list of every single area where the patches are going to be repaired, and they need to be repaired prior to June 15th. So it's our intention, and he has direction as the city engineer, to see that every one of those patches that have settled, and the purpose of patching before you do full pavement is to allow for settlement, but the idea is for all those patches to be repaired by June 15th. There will be repaving done on certain streets, but likely that won't take place to the fall. But they need to be rideable, and the gas company needs to be 95% out of here by June 15th. They could be at some individual houses. So that's the direction of the city engineer, and this is his report as it relates to that subject. Now, any questions on that?
I'm good.
There's a communication from Atlantic County Executive Offices, Danny Levinson, and as you know, since 2002, Margate has been part of a county-wide community development block grant program, which is a federally funded program. We get a share of some federal funds. Every so often, we have to decide either we're going to stay in that program or go out on our own. There's no reason to go out on our own. Since 2002, we've received about over $500,000, along with 19 other of the Atlantic County municipalities. Unless you want to do something, we don't have to do anything. But if you do want to get out of that consortium and go on our own and file for funds, we would be eligible to do that. But I don't recommend it, and Ed doesn't recommend it. I don't
We
think.
really should stay.
Right, but you have that option, and I wanted to report that publicly. Okay. This may have been reported last meeting. I wasn't here, but we have been notified by the Department of Transportation that we received a grant for municipal aid grant for Winchester Avenue reconstruction. We've been doing work with state aid funds for a number of years. We don't always get the grant. This year, there were 630 applications for more than $253 million, and they handed out $78 million, and we got 190,000 of that. Contract negotiations, I want to thank Tony for undertaking those during my absence, and with the Lifeguard Association, We are substantially completed with those negotiations, and I just wanted to report that we should be in place for a presentation to you and an approval, hopefully at the next meeting, the 21st, so that we're ahead of schedule, and by the time lifeguards get on the beach, we should have good labor agreements in place. And I just wanted to prepare you for that resolution, which will likely be on the agenda on the 21st. I think that's the major items to report for tonight.
Thank you very much, Rich. Scott?
Very little, Mayor. As you know, Jim Galantino is our flood damage prevention administrator as well as construction official, and he's brought to my attention a recent meeting concerning our flood insurance and aspects concerning our ratings and our credits. And I think in the near future, we will be in an opportunity perhaps to sit down with city administrator and a city engineer to go over some aspects to maybe increase our credits. There is an issue concerning which map and which minimum elevations will continue to be enforced in Margate. It's a very complicated issue, and I'm not in a position now to go into detail with it, but I told Jimmy that he's not here tonight, that I would mention it to you, that this is something we're going to have to address in the very near future, and just want to tip you off about it so that ultimately if you see a memo or a letter, you'll understand what it's about. It's an issue concerning minimum elevations in Margate and how that impacts our flood insurance rating. So that's coming in the near future to resolve issues concerning that. And that's basically all I have.
Thank you, Scott. Tom, do you have anything?
The clerk's office continues to move along successfully. We're ready for elections next Tuesday. Good luck to everybody.
Thank you. Fred?
I just have a few things. No, I don't need the gavel tonight. Thank you. Just have a few things to go over for the record. I have started on phase 2 of our radio upgrades for the city, the entire city, police, fire, public works, lifeguards. Phase 2 of this project, we completed phase 1 last year, which was a major portion, all portables and our dispatch was done. Phase 2 will be completed this year, and that will be a complete upgrade citywide of all of our radios. They'll be up to date, and that, of course, is a cause of something that the FCC has changed with radio frequencies, which we really had no alternative but to upgrade our radios since they were 15 years old. So we did get our money's worth out of the radios currently being used, and that will be upgraded. So I did go out. That money was bonded, and we did place the order for the upgrade, and that's phase 2 of our radio upgrades, and that should complete the whole system for this year. The other items I have are the solar panels on this building. I've contracted with a company to do a preventive maintenance and an evaluation on the solar panels. I'm waiting for a date for them, which should be in the next month. They'll let us know if the panels need any work and how to get them back functioning so that we could start earning some credits and maybe pick up on some missing credits since the school cut us off of the system when we moved in here. So I'm working on that also. I'm also working with Atlantic Coast Alarm and a lot of our municipal buildings, bringing our buildings up to code as far as the fire alarm systems as a part of, I guess, a facilities maintenance type package. I want to make sure that the fire alarm systems are up to date, and Atlantic Coast Alarm is working with us to get that done. And finally, I have started some work over at the old City Hall at 1 South to prepare for the upcoming work that we should see, I'm hoping, in the next month. The building still has to function as far as technology is concerned, and I got some help from our Public Works Department. We rewired some things to keep the fire department running and keep some cameras up and running, and we'll be doing some prep work over there to get that building ready for demolition and construction thereafter. And that's about it.
Thank you, Fred.
You're welcome.
Nothing to report.
Brenda?
Nothing.
Nor do I. Then we will go to public comment. We have 3 minutes to talk about anything that you just heard.
Sewell, 22 West Drive. 3 issues that Mr. Deeney brought up that should be addressed or readdressed. Compacting 4 lanes into 1 lane each way, I can't see where that's an advancement. If the forefathers liked the broad avenue and you want to turn it down so every senile codger can turn it into a cork in a bottle neck, and I don't see any plans to revert. There's no contingency plan. If this turns out to be a fiasco and a disaster, what contingency plans do we have to repaint that? Where's the money coming from? Next, you weren't here when the first bids went out on the parking lot, but there was a kerfluffle or two. And I don't have to regurgitate the nasty details of that particular bidding process, but you have to realize that this is the year 2015, and to be able to get a parking space, a 24-hour protected parking space, for less than $1 a day, it seems like the steal of the century, so to speak. I would suggest that the minimum bid start at $365, except for the year 2016, where it would be $366 for the leap year. Lastly, and perhaps even more pertinent, to have 3 commissioners sitting there like 3 bumps in a log, and they can't look down the road to the solicitor's old place of employment, where a female mayor, Teresa Kelly, was able to get a deal hammered out with the gas company. Not patching, but curb-to-curb resurfacing. Why are we accepting a second-rate plan when Kelly was able to get a curb-to-curb deal? And I asked these 3 commissioners, since we're on the eve of an election, to perhaps get off their duff, stop sitting on their brains, and perhaps contact Commissioner Kelly and get some advice about how getting things done productively and constructively to the benefit of taxpayers. I don't want to see patches from one end of the town to the other. I'll leave that go. Enough said.
Anyone else? Public comment.
Stephen Altman, 9003 Amherst Avenue, Margate. Again, congratulations and best of good luck to all 4 candidates. Wish you good luck in the election. A couple of things. Mr. Deeney mentioned the playground back here and its need for reparations. There's orange tape around that playground equipment which has come down. Over the weekend, I saw a father and his children, and I explained to them they shouldn't be there. But that tape should be adjusted, as well as the orange tape next to the generator on Union Avenue needs some attention to keep that safe. I would suggest to the new commissioners after the election that some changes be made in our ability to talk more than 3 minutes at certain times, and to have a dialogue rather than a monologue.
Steve?
You mentioned 3 minutes, so I'm responding to it,
I
sir,
did. Okay.
if I may.
You may, Steve.
Thank you.
You made your point.
Okay. And without everybody, all the reports of folks, I'd like to point out, if I may, that the White House has a task force on policing. And going forward, they recommend increased community policing, better use of technology, which Chief Wolfson told us at last meeting, the cameras are on order, and improved training and education. And I'd like to suggest to the commissioners going forward that both our chiefs, fire and police, as part of their reports twice monthly, include information about what training and education has gone on in their departments, as that's really, I think, a crucial thing. Firemen, I know, train, and I'm sure the police do, but I don't know what kind of training, and I'd like to. I will save my last comment for the next meeting. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Have to speak on this momentous occasion of the last meeting of this commission. Even if it continues to be the same commission, it will be a new 4 years. I wanted to comment that I think Mr. Dini is one of the most brilliant men I know for having had a vacation during the last few months prior to the election. I don't know if it was planned or not, but it was brilliant. So I would take credit for such brilliancy. It did not stop campaigns from using you against each other, but I did comment about that when you were gone. And so just so you don't hear it incorrectly, I will give you a copy via email of the comments I make. I want to thank Mr. Dini for providing such great information, comprehensive information on the streets and what's happening. Part of what's difficult as a resident is when you don't know what is going to be happening, and it is frustrating. It's disappointing that once again Margate had to be on the front page of the Region in such a negative way, but that's how this commission has been run, with stories flying all about Margate and our silliness. However, we're hoping moving forward that won't be the case. I do want to comment with regard to the streets that although we do not have control over the utility companies, that a couple years ago when Mayor Becker and Commissioner Tobby decided to cut the debt and stop existing road work and push it out further for financial reasons, political reasons, whatever reasons, what that caused was a lot of other street work being done right up until and mixed in amongst the utility work, which made it that much harder for us residents. So I think that was part of the response. Also, going forward with the new commission, with regard to the fire department, I know the mayor spoke of this at a couple other meetings, moving forward with whatever renovations are needed for Fire Station 2. We are aware there are some concerns and issues there, and I just hope that going forward, the next commission does not lose sight of that and continues working with the fire department. Thank you.
Anyone else? Is there a motion to close public comment, please?
I'll make a motion that we close public comment.
I'll second that motion. Tom, would you call the roll, please?
Mayor Becker?
Yes.
Commissioner Blumberg?
Yes.
Commissioner Tobby?
Yes.
Is there a motion to adjourn this meeting?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Okay. Mayor Becker?
Yes.
Commissioner Blumberg?
Yes.
Commissioner Tobby?
Yes.
Thank you all. We will convene at 5.